I want to go ahead and welcome you guys to the first episode of Recreational Sniper. I've decided to do a few changes. I'm bringing on some help to the channel and kind of doing more, you know, educational stuff. I'm also planning on starting just a podcast channel where we just discuss shooting long range or shooting in general, firearms and whatnot, and firearms related subjects. Um, I'm going to keep this channel just for going out and actually shooting and maybe, showing off some of the gear I'm using because YouTube likes to demonetize anything firearms related. As soon as you show a picture of a gun or part of a gun or something, instantly gets demonetized. Now, my channel has never been monetized, but it is a goal of mine that one day I will make money doing this whole YouTube thing. So that's what the second channel is going to be for the podcast channel. As far as firearms and stuff, we're going to have a podcast on just discussions. And podcasts seem to do really well. You know, if you think like Joe Rogan big, you're doing amazingly well, but I don't really have any hopes for that. I hope that maybe one day my podcast channel will be about as big as Eric Cortina's. I believe the Target podcast, where he's got about 10,000 subscribers or so. If I could get that, or maybe if it could grow bigger than that, if it got to 100,000 subscribers, it would be amazing. But we'll see. Let's get on with the show. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got some changes going on. I'm bringing on a second person on the channel, so it's not going to just be me. Tomorrow, we are going out, and our first video that we're doing together, we're going out and we're going to be shooting at least 800 yards and up to about 13 to 1400 yards. Okay. I've been working with him for a little while and kind of teaching him some things about long range shooting, and he started to get really interested in it. And he's got his own rifle set up that he's been working on. And so, some of the things I'm bringing with me tomorrow, because where we're going is kind of remote, and there's no cell phone service out there. So I'm bringing some communicational stuff with me that I could use to send out a emergency signal if I need to. But also I'm bringing some tools, some extra tools with us, because we're going to be going on some back roads and trails where recently we've had a lot of wind and stuff come through the area. Some of y'all may have been affected by it, and anyways, I personally wasn't in my area. We didn't get a whole lot of it. We're, I guess, kind of shielded where I live, but north of us and a little bit west of us really got hit pretty good this past week. So we don't know if there's going to be any downed trees, and we don't know how muddy the roads are going to be with all the rain we've had. We are going to be up in the mountains, so we're not going to have to deal with too much mud, but just in case, I am bringing a shovel, and for the down trees in case I have to cut up a couple trees and clear the path a little bit. I'm bringing a battery-powered chainsaw. Not a very big one. It's just like a 12-inch bar uh, battery-powered chainsaw, just a 20-volt chainsaw. I'm also bringing, in case that's not enough and we run out of juice on it, I'm bringing a couple axes with me. Of course, an extra jacket just in case I need it. This is always in the car, always stays with me. But yeah, besides that, I am going to bring some extra tools just in case we need them. I've got an air compressor in here. I'm going to bring a plug kit. I actually need to go buy a plug kit. I don't actually have one. When I sold my other car, I let the plug kit go with it because, you know, the guy was driving like 900 miles or something, and I was like, dude, if you get a flat tire, I'm a pretty good guy, so I'm like, here you go, here's a compressor and a plug kit. This will get you where you're going. Most of the time that's plenty. So gave him my old compressor and a plug kit. So that's one of those things I need to make note of. I need to get a plug kit tomorrow morning on the way out, just in case. I'm not sure if we're all going to take one vehicle. I've got the most amount of just rent of gear for this project, so I'm not sure if we're going to take my vehicle or if we're going to take his, or if we're going to decide to bring both of them. If we do decide to bring both of them, I've got like a 30,000 pound tow line in here, one of those synthetic winch ropes, and plenty of other gear, carabiners. I also have some Dyneema rope in here, which is really small diameter but really, really strong. Hold about 10 to 12,000 pounds, something like that. Old rock climbing gear, So when it goes to get to the shooting stuff, the shooting gear, we're obviously got a rear bag. Guns on a bipod, we're not going to be using a rest. I'm running my 6.5 PRC, and I'm just using Norma's Golden Target match ammo. I got my shooting mat, tripod, which for the chronograph or the camera, either one. I may bring two cameras on this deal because it's the first time I'm actually bringing a second person on with me and then actually going out and doing this type of deal. Got my chronograph. I don't need the chronograph. We've already got pretty well recorded chronograph data for both mine and his rifle, and the only thing we really would have to adjust is the temperature in the day and the altitude we're at. But muzzle velocity is kind of independent of that. Your muzzle velocity only really changes when your ammo temperature changes. So if we can get the ammo temperature to about the same temperature as it was on the day that we tested, the muzzle velocity is going to be pretty similar. But I'm bringing the chronograph just in case we're having some difficulties with the tracking on the ballistic charts, or if the ballistic calculator we're using, which I'm planning on using the Hornady 4DOF app. It's the Hornady 4 Direction of Flight app, and it works. I've tested it. It works without cell phone service, so that is one of the great things about it. And I've got custom profiles in there for my rifle and this ammunition, and I've got a custom profile in there for his rifle and the ammunition that he is using. He's not using match ammo. He's running a Remington 40X 708, and right now he's using store-bought, I believe it's Norma Whitetail 150 grain soft point ammo. So it's got a pretty poor ballistic coefficient. It's great hunting ammunition, but as far as long range ammunition, it's not super useful. So it goes, I believe it goes transonic at around 800 yards. It either goes transonic at 800 or he's going to run out of scope adjustment at like 800. Uh, Whichever it may be. Both my scope and his scope are they're pretty close to the same. They got about 110 minutes of adjustment in them. So if you take that and divide it by 2, you get 55 minutes of adjustment as far as how much elevation you can go up. But then you add 20 minutes to it because both his scope and mine or our rifle setup, the scope bases are 20 MOA scope bases. So realistically, we have 70 to 75 minutes of adjustment in our scopes. Mine, based on that theory, will run out of adjustment about 1,900 yards, about 1,800, 1,900 yards. And I believe his is going to run out of adjustment because of the ammo he's shooting. It's got really low BC. It's gonna drop a lot more. It's gonna lose a lot of velocity really quickly and drop a lot more. He's going to run out of adjustment range about 800 yards. So we're going to try to set up one target at about 800, which will be about maxed out for the ammo he's using. And then I'm going to set up another target at like 1200 or 1300. I've measured it with the rangefinder, but I don't know how accurate it is. So what my plan is I'm going to go and set up an actual like reflective target at where I'm going. I'm using this. Actually, I'll just show you. These are roughly cut out, but I've got 2 of these, and I roughly cut these out. They are 20 inches by 20 inches. I know they're kind of rough and they're not perfectly square, but I got these from work. These are like old car door skins. So, from where I work at, we got a body shop and whatnot. So I just kind of cut out this old car door skin in kind of a square, and this is going to be our target is 20 by 20 inches. So at 800 yards, it's going to be like a little over like 2.25 minutes, maybe close to 2.5 minutes of angle size target at 800 yards. Just to give you some perspective. And then like at 1200 yards, this is going to be about 1.75 minutes of angle, and then it gets smaller, like 1400 yards, it's going to be like less than 1.5 minutes of angle size target. So that gives you some perspective when you're talking about shooting really, really long range. Is this target is under 1.5 minutes size, 1 MOA, 1.5 MOA at like 1,300, 1,400 yards. So if you just think about that, that's like shooting. This would be like at 100 yards, you're shooting a target that is like under 1.5 inches, like an inch and 1.25, 1.75 inches, something like that, 1.5 inches, or under 1.5 inches, sorry. So not very big target at 100 yards, but even though it seems like it's a big target, when you really stretch it out there, 1,400 yards, this is going to be a pretty small target to hit. And beyond that, I know you guys are probably wondering what the deal is with this jelly. Well, working at the car dealership, we get used cars in all the time, trade-ins and whatnot, and in the back of one of these used cars was this 8-pound jar of jelly, and this stuff expired in 2013. I don't know, man. You tell me where you are. It might still be good, it might not be. I'm gonna vote probably not. But I'm going to set this up at 1,200 yards and or 1,300 yards and attempt to hit it with the 6.5 PRC. So this size jar, it's about like 7 inches tall and like 6 inches wide, something like that. Or maybe a little under 6 inches. Well, it's about 6 inches wide and about 7 inches tall. This is roughly at 1,400 yards, about half minute of angle. So maybe a little over that 0.6 minutes of angle or so at 1,300 yards. Like I said, we hadn't really gotten an accurate measurement on that. That's why I have these reflective targets to set up. Got two of them. I'm going to set one up at our firing position and set one up at the target position, and that way I can range from the target position to the firing position, and then when we get back around there and ready to shoot and I range back the other direction from the firing position to the target position, I can take the two measurements and hopefully they're pretty close, if not exactly the same. If they are not, I am also using a GPS to measure the distance. I'm going to mark the coordinates on the GPS for each one of these, and we're going to kind of average all of that out to try to get the best ballistic table that we can get off the app, off the calculator, and hopefully be able to hit on a first round basis. I think at 800 yards we're not going to have a problem hitting first round because this is a pretty big target for 800 yards, but the 12, 13, 1400 yard area, however far it ends up being, it may even be up to 1500 yards. I don't know exactly. We're just going to have to find out tomorrow. That target becomes quite a bit smaller at that distance, and this target will be way smaller. This is just going to be for fun. I'm bringing 85 rounds of ammunition. One of these boxes only has 5 rounds in it. I don't know how much ammo he's bringing. I don't know if we're going to shoot all of it. It just depends on how much time we have. So that's the target type of setup, what we've got going on. And on our 800 yard target, by the way, I'm also going to be pasting one of these on there. This is from stormtactical.com. They have printable targets in PDF form. You can download their PDF file, and they have tons of different targets in different sizes and different setups for different shooting. But this is an 8 MOA target at 100 yards, so at 800 yards it will be a 1 MOA target. So what I'm planning on doing with that is taping it to the center of one of these, and this is what we're going to be aiming at 800 yards. So it seems like that's a big target, but that's a 1 MOA target at 800 yards. If you think about it, that's kind of small. But so we got our gear in case we have to dig ourselves out of a hole, and then we've also got our targets and chronographs, got a spotting scope, got our bipods and stuff. In my backpack I've got some extra gear, some light survival stuff, flashlight. I've got a infrared thermometer to check temperature on rounds and stuff in case we need to change the temperature for our ballistic app. And then I've got a rangefinder in there. I've got the GPS in there, some extra tools in case something happens and we have to retorque a scope or action screws and all of that stuff. So I'm going to finish packing all this gear up, and I finished working on these targets. I got to figure out a way to make a stand to hold these up in place. I've got some extra metal rods and stuff. I'm going to see if I can get those to work for me. So with that being said, we will see you later tomorrow. It's a little closer look. The X5 accommodates some gear quite well. Chainsaw, duct tape, grape jelly, jacket, axes, rear bag for the gun, shovel, rope and straps and stuff, bipod, targets, my shooting mat, chronograph, got the spotting scope, got the rifle bag, got all the ammo parked there, and then my backpack kit that's got all the technical gear, all the electronics in it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This rig is built for adventure, I tell you. Mental note, do not forget the plug kit and also extra water. 2 gallons of water at least. We're going to bring 2 gallons of water. Stop and get 2 gallons of water and a plug kit. So if we have a flat, at least we can kind of air it up and get us to where we're going. Don't want to get stranded out in the middle of nowhere with a flat tire with no cell phone service. Pro tip.